Greetings fellow captains and welcome back to part 3 of our how to master the British cruisers with the Hive Hound, and we are stepping up to the tier 6 Fiji. Now I will genuinely straight up argue, and I think it'd be pretty hard to convince me, but I am open to changing my mind, that okay, if we take out the Belfast, and even with the Belfast, it's a bit of a call because you do lose out on the torpedoes. The Fiji is the best tier 6 cruiser. Like I said, the only one I think that really challenges it is the Belfast. But losing torpedoes to gain HE, once you get used to just firing armor piercing, yeah, you'd be pretty hard pressed to convince me otherwise. So the first thing you want to focus very much. Alright, okay, so the Fiji's got a bit of bow armor, and it's got some really good side armor, and if you angle it right, you can bounce a lot of damage. But we're going to stick with the same basic principle that we have with the lower tier British cruisers, that you do not want to be a frontline fighting ship unless the targets are right, and you do want to predominantly use cover as much as possible. So as you can see here, we're approaching A cautiously. We're looking for cover to fire from, and let's see a Dunkirk over there. You know, we would have taken a shot, but unfortunately he disappeared beforehand. And why am I now pushing across to A? Well, this is quite simple. There's island cover here, and that island in front of us with the is it cathedral, does provide opportunities to fire over islands without getting shot, without getting spotted, and without getting shot back at. Now, it is a cap. There are 3 destroyers, so quite likely we are going to see a destroyer over here. So we are going to take advantage of our smoke screen quite early on, and there's also a little gap in the islands that Gun Eisenhower is probably going to pass and probably spot us. So we slow right down. We do slowly move forward to try and expand our smoke screen a bit. But this is key to the Fiji, and you're going to see it throughout this match. There will be another couple of clips after this to show the Fiji in some other scenarios. But the Fiji is, same with all the British cruisers, it's all about constantly firing those guns. You don't have massive alpha damage, but you can almost guarantee 3 to like 5,000 every single salvo. And that's what we want to focus on. See, we're looking at the Gun Eisenhower because we've got torpedoes. You know, we can see he's creeping in there. And we're gonna keep an eye on him and see if he moves, to see if there's any potential to torp him, because, well, you've got torps. And good call with the smoke screen, because as you can see, we do in fact have a destroyer out here who has been spotted, but only briefly, and he has flung a bunch of torpedoes. Now, I don't think the torpedoes were actually aimed at our smoke screen, because looking at how far away we are from it, they're probably not going to reach. And I believe they do go out before touching us. And oof, see a pretty decent salvo on that Arizona there. And you know, we're barely starting the game, and we're already up to 40,000 damage, because you found a good location, and it's allowing us to pick on these battleships. So our smoke's about to run out, so you can see we're accelerating, we're turning away. Icarus is spotted, so obviously British armor piercing absolutely tears destroyers apart. So we are going to take shots at him. Unfortunately, that salvo misses. And pay attention to the centre bottom of the screen, where you can see the rudder markings. Notice I'm almost constantly adjusting the rudder. You know, we've not got a massive amount of armour, so we do need to take advantage of our manoeuvrability and make ourselves as difficult as possible to be shot at. That's kind of key. You do want to make yourself an unappealing target to the enemy ships. Now, we did spot, I believe it is a Leander pushing towards our decamp as we take some pot shots, and no one's really paying attention to him. He's going to try and creep in, he's going to set his smoke screen, but it's all going to be in vain. Would have been a really good move on his part if I hadn't been paying attention to the map. And Citadel hit, and he is gone. 5 minutes in, 50,000 damage. So yeah, I know you could do that with a single salvo with a battleship, but I think we've been fairly effective. And again, look at us, we're trying to focus on keeping those guns firing as much as humanly possible. And this is key. If there's a broadside battleship, shoot at it, because can you see we're doing some pretty effective damage every 7 seconds whilst our gun reloads to the battleships, and it is adding up. It's slowly but surely. You know, you haven't got that. Okay, against other cruisers you might have that one-punch capability, but against battleships you haven't. But having that ability to constantly fire your guns is going to be, it just adds up. It just keeps on ticking over slowly. So we hold our fire slightly just to make sure we're past the curve of this island, so we can continue to pick on both the Eisenhower and the Dunkirk, and that's when the Colorado pops up. Now the Colorado's got some rather big, rather nasty guns, so he's not something we really want to get shot at. And then the Icarus reappears again, and of course, if you've got the opportunity to kill a destroyer, you should always kill the destroyer. Fire there, assuming he's coming forward, but as it turns out, he was in reverse. He torps our battleship, gets out of our range, so he's undetected. But yeah, Colorado's turning broadside, so we should see some effective damage. And notice all those shells getting spammed at us. There is a wild Atlanta hiding over behind those islands, but we're using the manoeuvrability. And one thing especially to note with the British cruisers, you see I'm constantly turning, but my speed is not really being affected that much. You will lose a couple of knots in a turn initially, but it will start accelerating almost instantaneously, so it allows you to do some pretty wild maneuvers constantly without particularly losing much speed. That was not a cat. That was my daughter meowing in the background there. So apologies for that. Unfortunately, I can't take it out. And but she has a little moan, a little telling a couple of little stories, but only occasionally. So it's not really going to affect the replay. So I'd rather keep the sound in. So we're still hunting for potential targets. We've got nothing to shoot at, which is bad. We want stuff to shoot at in the Fiji. In any British cruiser, you always want something to shoot at. And there is both a Eisenhower and an Arizona that has appeared. So we started slowing down before we hit our smoke. But yeah, you want to pay attention to your speed, because you can quite easily outrun it. And the Fiji doesn't have a very long dispersion time in the smoke screen. None of the British cruisers do. You only get about like 3 puffs. So you want to be hitting the circle or whatever button it is on Xbox to slow your speed down. And start hammering away, which is exactly what we're going to continue to do. We're off out to the side, we're in smoke, so we're again an unappealing target. And unfortunately, as you can see, all our team, although it's looking pretty even, all of our team are very much cambered together, and don't know if it's the best tactic. You know, I've lost spots now on everything, which is pulling me out of the game, making me ineffective, and being all jammed up like that, you know, sometimes there is safety in numbers, but it's, you know, it's not going to work out well. Let's put it that way. It is not going to go in our favour, despite what I do. So as you can see, there we get a high caliber medal with 95,000, and all of a sudden, we are hit by radar. There he goes. In all fairness, this Atlanta made a bit of a mistake. If he had fired up that radar 10-15 seconds earlier, whilst we were still in our smoke and we couldn't see him, he could have really punished us. And I won't lie, he does hurt. He does cause some significant damage. So we don't want to get shot by the battleships, which is exactly why we're turning around to face him. We're trying to get that island in between us and them, because yes, I'm quite happy to take on Atlanta, and that's exactly why I'm quite happy to take on Atlanta, particularly at close range. But I don't fancy getting shot by anything else. And we were going to turn because we were expecting torpedoes, and there we go. The agility of the British cruisers, you know, just makes it easy. Again, we've got the Arizona push into the centre. Now, I was expecting that Dunkirk, because we did see that Dunkirk turning behind that island. I was expecting him to turn in sharp and not to sail out broadside, which is why we fired the torpedoes where we did. But turns out he sailed out completely broadside, and unfortunately our torpedoes are just not going to be effective. So now it's a case of try and cause damage, try and evade. Granted, I could have bow tanked the Dunkirk. His guns are not big enough. The Fiji has 27mm of bow armour. So with those 27mm of bow armour, you can tank up to 15-inch guns. Right, so I'm not saying over 15-inch guns, up to. So anything with 15-inch, with smaller than 15-inch guns, you can bow tank. So the Dunkirk, this was possibly a mistake on my part. I could have bow tanked this Dunkirk. Just closed in and torpedoed him. But whether it was a mistake or not is yet to be seen. And this is where the Fiji struggles. When you don't have armour piercing and you have battleships bow tanking you. As you can see, we are scoring damage, but we're not getting the 4, 5, 6, 7,000 damage salvos we were. And thankfully our teammate takes out that Dunkirk, leaving us to our own accord, sitting here in the smoke. 2 ships of each team left. We're going to focus the Colorado because, well, he's in range and he's low health, so he's going to be a pretty easy target. Someone we've dealt a significant amount of damage to that Colorado this entire game, and yeah, our last remaining teammate is dead. There's a little over 2 minutes left on the clock, and we are in fact behind on points. So this puts me in a very difficult situation where I have to kill that Arizona. That Arizona has to die for me to be able to pull out the win. So we're on 142,000 damage. Which, to be honest with you, I didn't want to make this series about massive high damage games. It just happened to be that this game, it showcased exactly what you want to be doing at all times in the Fiji. You know, take on other cruisers. 1 or 2 enemy cruisers, take them on. Like, always push them, always go for them, because the Fiji eats other cruisers. As you've seen, you know, we were caught in a compromising position by that Atlanta, but yet still came out on top. And particularly something that's going to spam HE, we do have a pretty good heal. So time is down to the last minute, so I fire my gun. Now why do I fire my gun? Because I want that Arizona to look at me and open up, so I can see him and I can start shooting back. And there he is. He's fired, and Unfortunately for him, obviously, I'd started turning the other way, but I don't know if he predicted it, which if he did, GG, or if having really bad aim fortunately paid off. But that was a 1600 base XP loss, 142,000 damage with high caliber. GG to Sawyer in the Leon and Tempest in the Dallas, who had a pretty good game with us as well. But the enemy team, they overall done really well, so they definitely deserve that win. So we're going to skip to a clip in another match. These were actually concurrent games. I played the one and then jumped over and played the next. And this is where we're going to highlight the don't be scared of other cruisers. Okay, there is something to be worried about there. We did spot a battleship, but I'm accelerating forward and I'm turning because I know that island is going to be between me and that battleship. As you can see, he is no longer a threat whatsoever, and yeah, we're just absolutely punishing that Atlanta, and we know he's accompanied by someone else, and it is actually, in fact, at Dallas, another American light cruiser, but we are not concerned at all. As you can see, he has hit us several times, but done quite minimal damage because, like, he's spamming HE. Unless it penetrates, it doesn't really do much apart from irritate and annoy. So there is something more so with the Dallas here that you're going to want to pay attention to. Now, I kind of make a bit of a mistake, but this is a teaching moment. I aim a bit low on the Atlanta. I'm going to aim a tad higher, and our teammate in the Leander finishes him off. And well, here we go. We've got a Dallas who's bad tanking us. Now, yeah, alright, you're not going to get much damage, if any, on another power tanking cruiser. We aim a bit higher, we take out one of his guns. So we've neutered half of his firepower on us. We do have some assistance dealing with this Dallas, and you know, we're closing in, we're looking to see what we can do with our torpedoes and trying to take out those guns, because if we take out those guns, he's going to have to turn. And look at the angle that Dallas is at. Well, straight through. The British cruisers do have some ridiculous penetration angles. And again, we're looking at some open water gameplay. So as you can see, we're steering fairly regularly and trying to tackle this York and Pensacola here. And again, you're not going to get that one hit massive damage salvos, because that's not what the Fiji is all about. It's all about death by 1,000 cuts or torpedoes. And we're going to finish off that York reasonably quickly. There we go, York is down. And now to move on to the Pensacola, and you're going to see those penetration angles working in our favour again. As you can see, our aim was a little bit better, and our initial salvo done a lot more. We're going to take some return fire from the Pensacola here after another 5,000 damage salvo, taking just 1,000 in return and 3 citadels, and he is gone. And we turned to line up torpedoes on the Bayern, but our teammates managed to pick him off. So another, I believe this was a 3,000 base XP game and another 100,000, and that's what you're going to be looking for. It's the consistency. I think you need to be doing 70 plus every single game and just being consistent, and by using the patterns. So, you know, use island, use your smoke, look for broadside battleships to absolutely punish, like you've seen in the first match. And don't be afraid of cruisers. Cruisers are your lunch. You can quite happily push 2. Probably wouldn't consider pushing 3 cruisers, but but 2 cruisers is relatively easy. Use your bow, use those higher penetration angles, and make them your bitch. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of How to Master Your Ship. This is new. I am new to doing this kind of series of videos, so if there's anything you think that I could change, anything I missed about the Fiji that you'd like to see, we can do an update video and use that going forward. And I'll be honest with you, I've been focusing quite heavily on the Edinburgh because, you know, it's tier 7, that's where it's at. So thank you very much for joining us today. If you haven't subscribed yet and you've made it this far, please do hit that little subscribe button. It helps the channel massively. And well, until next time, take care.